Siren Song by GaPJaxie. Chapter 8, Whitewash, with 21,335 words. I found more alcohol swabs, Swiftwing says, and when she offers me the box balanced on her wing, I take it. It's not much, a little bin full of cotton balls with a bottle of rubbing alcohol tucked into the side, but it seems clean enough. The bathroom sink is already full of bloody rags and cotton from the first aid kit resting on top of the toilet, and when I look into the mirror, I can still see flecks of red in my coat. I sweep the cotton out of the sink and chuck it into the bin, wringing out the cloth so that I can use them again later. The fabric was white when I started, but now it's a dark pink that runs red when I twist it. I leave it hanging on the towel rack to dry. Thanks, I mutter, uncorking the bottle and pressing one of the cotton balls to its mouth. A quick twist soaks the cotton without wasting any of the fluid inside, and I wince as I levitate it up to my forehead. I don't even know how I got that cut. I guess he must have had a knife or something where I headbutted him. It feels like lightning is shooting through my forehead, and for a second, the glow around the cotton flickers as I struggle to hold it. I power through it though, clamping my teeth together and dragging the swab over the cut. The pain won't kill me, but an infection might, and soon enough, the cut is clean and clotted. I toss the swab into the bin, turning the star on the cuts along my side. Are you sure you're going to be okay? Swiftwing asks for the third time. I glance up from my work and realize she's standing in the doorway, watching me clean my injuries as she shifts awkwardly from hoof to hoof. Her face is flat, but her eyes are a little bit wide, and her ears are up and alert. There are probably some subtleties in how she's holding her wings too, but I think I get the gist, and go back to what I'm doing. That depends. Can you catch poison joke from an open wound? The cuts in my side don't seem that bad. They sure bled enough to give me a scare, but now that I've washed the blood away, I can see that they aren't that deep, and they seem to have stopped bleeding on their own. I should still clean them up and bandage them, but I'll be fine. They might not even scar, I guess. It's not a disease, she replies, a little sharp, maybe. She doesn't follow up on that anger, though, and her tone quickly softens. I mean, you could catch cutie pox from martyr blood, I guess, but I've never heard of that happening. Then I'm probably fine, I say, as I levitate the razor out of the first aid kit. It's a good kit, at least, even if it is small. I'm pretty sure the shaving cream is an antiseptic and a painkiller. It stings when I rub it in my coat, around the cuts, but the stinging stops soon enough, and I don't feel any pain when I start shaving away the hair. A muffled crash comes up through the floor, and the bathroom trembles very slightly. I guess they're still at it. That cut on your forehead looks like it might need some stitches, Swiftwing says, and out of the corner of my eye, I can see her pointing with a hoof. I shrug. Do you know how to sew wounds? I ask, and of course, she shakes her head. Well, I don't either, so let's hope you're wrong. That keeps her quiet for a bit, and she watches as I work. Scrape, scrape, wash the razor off in the sink, antiseptic cream, scrape, scrape, repeat. Do you need any help with that? She breaks the silence after what feels like 5 minutes at least. I know you're a unicorn, but that still seems awkward. She knows I'm a unicorn? It takes me a second to piece together what she means. Of course, she would have to do this with her mouth. No, I'm almost done, I answer with a little shake of my head. I only need to take enough off so the bandages will stay on. A minute more, and I shift to do the cut on my forehead. A minute after that, I toss the razor into the sink, taking the pink cloth off the stand to wash away the cream. Get some bandages, press down on the wounds, stick them in place, and done. I should clean up. I've made a mess of the bathroom. Put everything I haven't used back in the kit. Clean up the swabs, wring out the cloth. You look better, Swiftwing fumbles out, still standing in the doorway. I don't glance back at her. I know her body language hasn't changed. Oh yeah, dazzling. Mare's dick scars, right? I don't know where that came from. I should sigh or something, show her I didn't mean it, but I only stare at her. I just spoke without thinking. She doesn't answer. There are more sounds from outside, distant screaming and the crackle of lightning. I'm sorry, that was... yeah, she says, the word clipped, and she turns away to walk back into the kitchen. I finish cleaning up the bathroom. I guess it strikes me as odd that I'm not freaking out. I don't think I'm in shock, or at least it doesn't feel like it did when I was lying on the wharf or running away from Green. The first time, I couldn't think anything at all, and the second time, all I could think about was the blood. Now, I feel numb, Not really numb. My legs and cuts still hurt. But like my thoughts are echoing out of a deep well, if that makes any sense. Maybe I'm tired. She's waiting in the kitchen when I step back out, sitting on her haunches by the stove, glancing around at nothing in particular. She doesn't say anything. My belt is right where I left it on the countertop, and I quickly secure it around my barrel, even if it does irritate the new cuts. It's funny. A month ago, the idea of wearing clothes or saddlebags every day would have struck me as vain and uncomfortable. Now, though, I feel somehow safer with this, like it was armor instead of cloth and straps. Thank you for everything, I speak first, and after the second, I open up one of the pouches on my belt. I have no idea how much a first aid kit costs here, but I count out 5 of the 10-bit tokens and leave them on the countertop. I'm sorry I can't do more, and I'm sorry I was so nasty to you earlier. She doesn't answer. I fold my ears back, tilt my head down, and lower my tail a bit. It's not my best performance, but contrition is mostly in the tone anyway. I've had kind of a bad day. I picked up on that, she says, reaching up to scratch the back of her head. There doesn't seem to be much else to say. I don't need her to do anything other than what she's already done, and she doesn't seem to want to talk, so we stand there. I can hear some thumping in the distance, I think, and the pulsing of the lights. When it gets quiet enough, I start to hear my own breathing. Of course, not wanting to talk isn't the same thing as wanting silence, so it doesn't take her long to pipe up again. You were pretty bad off when you came in. I thought you were about to die on my floor. That makes 2 of us, I answer, even if it's not exactly true. But I've had worse. Yeah, she agrees, and then it's quiet again. Ah, this time it's me who says something to break the quiet. I don't feel well at all. It's all too much at once. Something else to focus on will do me good. A little trace of normalcy. I force my voice into something like casual and lift my head, looking around the little space we're in. How do you cook anything here? There's barely any counter space, no cabinets, no tools, no trash disposal. That felt nice to ask, and I swallow a bit, trying to get back into the swing of things. Oh, I don't. Swiftwing shakes her head. I just heat things up. All the food is prepared when it arrives, in those boxes there. She points to the pile of little metal containers that occupies nearly the entire wall, and I lean over to examine one. It's small, about 3 hooves across maybe, with a latch, but not a lock. A plain white label reads Cinnamon Apples A3, and when I crack the top open to peek inside, I see that it's full of apple slices dusted with cinnamon and sugar. They smell good, like the apple was freshly cut, but these boxes are covered in dust. Don't they go bad or turn brown? Produce from New Apple Acres never goes bad, she says, plainly enough. Her tone is almost bored, going through the motions of a conversation. Unremarkable. Are the boxes enchanted? I turn the box over, but I don't see any gems or enchantable surfaces on it. No, the fruit just never goes bad. It's a special breed or something. Swiftwing gives a little shrug. That's unnatural, I answer, and it comes out a little harsher than I meant. It is, though. Not even the ponies in Slushy's own kitchens can delay spoiling indefinitely. It's better, she snaps back, and while her voice doesn't rise much, I can hear her bristle. It's okay, though. I can diffuse the situation. All I need to do is agree with her, apologize for being rude, and explain I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I know what I need to say. Tell yourself that to make it feel okay, do you? That wasn't it. You're something else, you know that? Her voice drops, but her tone hardens, her jaws set as she stares me down. After you were a toxic, spiteful shrew to me, I saved your life because I took pity on you. And now you have the gall to come in here and condescend to me, all high and mighty. I'm sorry, I stammer, as I try to recover the conversation. There was no need to say that. She just got to me for a second there. I didn't mean... Pony Feathers, you didn't mean it. She snaps, her voice rising. Your closet is bigger than this? My apartment is smaller than this, you harpy. A sharp snort escapes her, and she glares. I don't get you. Do you hate every pony? Or did I do something to you to deserve this? You decided to become one of them for the glamour of it, you disgusting coward. That's what I want to say. That's what I feel in my throat when it tightens, my chest when it goes tense. I want to go off on this pathetic nothing of a pony. Her self-esteem is like glass. I could rip out her heart and crush it in front of her with one good cold rant. I know I could, and Celestia forgive me, right now I want to. I take a deep breath and let it out. The princess can forgive me later. For the time being, she raised me better than that. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I take it out on ponies around me. I say with a weary little sigh, slumping my shoulders appropriately, contrite isn't the right tone for this. I undercut that option by using it earlier and then snapping at her. Instead, I go for worn down, beaten, and it's barely above a whisper that I continue. It's petty and selfish, and I'm sorry, Swiftwing. She turns away, her ears folded back after a sharp frown on her face. Whatever, she mutters. I'm not going to kick you out over it, so just sit here and try not to make a mule of myself. I offer her a weak smile, and she offers a weak laugh in trade. Yeah, she agrees, and her ears perk up a little. That. Things get quiet, but they're not as awkward as they were before. I start to calm down, or at least stop feeling so twitchy. I realize it's gotten quiet outside too. Well, not quiet. The alarm is still going off, but there are no sounds of fighting anymore. Perhaps the guards have retaken the train station. Then again, perhaps the soldiers have advanced so far into the tower, we can't hear the battle any longer. Do you know what's gotten them so riled up? Swiftwing asks, peering at the closed door to the restaurant front. The fighting doesn't usually last this long. Usually? My head perks up, and she turns back to me. This happens often enough to have a usually? Every few months, I guess, she answers, superficially calm, but there's a little hint of unease in her eyes. Some hotshot in security thinks he's going to be the one to finally bring Rainbow Dash to the doc's head, or some featherbrain here thinks that being a resident means he can taunt City Central. Only a scuffle, though, usually. Some ponies get black eyes or a broken leg, and that's it. It sounds like a real knockdown brawl this time. Nah, nothing special. Some idiot again. I say, and it's not exactly a lie. I was in the train station when it started. One of the guards there decided to imply that Rainbow Dash and Rarity were, you know. I clap my hooves together. I mean, I guess she does know. Philly fooler and all that. Suicide then? She asks. I don't get it. He didn't kill himself. The soldiers killed him. I give her a puzzled glance, tilting my head to one side, and she makes a vague circling gesture with a hoof. Suicide by cop, she elaborates. You know, like going into a public space and shouting that Rainbow Dash can kiss your flank or that Celestia wasn't so bad. Oh. Because guards here can kill ponies for saying the wrong thing. Suicide by cop. I get it. That's clever. Laughing makes me feel a little better about how screwed up that is, I guess. Even if it is more of a nervous giggle than a real laugh. It's just something ponies say. She shrugs. Outside, the alarm klaxon fades away, and there is a genuine quiet. Swiftwing lets out a sigh, shaking out her wings and ruffling her feathers. It's a funny gesture, something between a stretch and a shiver. But then again, Pegasus wing expressions are usually complicated. Oh, good, she says, the relief in her tone mirroring her body language from a moment ago. We should give it a few minutes to be safe, but that... Citizens of Vision, take heed. Though the lieutenant's voice is no louder than the klaxon was a moment ago, it feels so much closer. It booms, it rattles the door, it drips authority and strength. I know he's not here. He's not. I'm a singer and an actress. I can hear the difference between some pony projecting their voice in person and doing it over a distance through magic. Some pony needs to tell my subconscious that, though, because I sink down and reflexively try to look smaller. I am Lieutenant Thunderlane of City Central Security. If you are not already aware, I regret to inform you that a misunderstanding earlier this evening resulted in an altercation between City Security and your own private guards. You may be at ease in the knowledge that this matter has been resolved and normal operations have been restored throughout Tiara Tower. While this incident was both regrettable and entirely avoidable, and steps will be taken moving forward in light of these mistakes, we may take some comfort in the knowledge that no security officers were killed. On behalf of City Central Security, I apologize for any disruption this may have caused to your day. He pauses to let it sink in. His tone is all authority and control and classic commanding stallion intonations, but there's no way that little undertone of menace was accidental. Normal operations. But he's the one addressing us instead of some local officer or mayor, reassuring us that no members of his force were killed. Steps will be taken moving forward. You don't grow up in a palace without learning to read between the lines when politicians talk. I address you now to bring your attention to a matter of grave importance. A fugitive from the law has taken shelter in your tower and it is imperative that she be captured as soon as possible." He belts out the words, and I realize I'm in trouble. I check Swiftwing, but she's staring off into space as she listens. She hasn't put two and two together yet.
"This fugitive, operating under the name Siren Song,"
Thanks Celestia I didn't tell her my name.
"is wanted on charges of murder, arson, inciting rebellion, and treason against the city and its citizens. I remind you all that while the city forgives you for offenses committed against it in ignorance, knowingly sheltering a traitor is treason, and will be punished as such. The bounty for this fugitive or any information leading to her capture is set at 10,000 bits.
Okay. This is bad, but it could be worse. She doesn't know my name. When she asks, I'll make something up, and then be on my way.
Fugitive is described as a pink unicorn with pronounced scarring down her right side.
Ah, horse apples. Swiftwing whirls in place to face me, springing to her hooves as I do the same. She's tense, alert, legs spaced apart, wings flared up. Instinct and adrenaline driving her eyes back and forth to take in the room around us. Blood pounds in my ears and my throat tightens, but I rip my little metal spear from its strap on my belt, holding it up to her point first. The lieutenant is still talking, but neither of us is listening. "I can't believe I saved you, you backstabbing trash!" she shouts, but when she takes a step towards me, a sharp jab with the spear drives her scrambling back. 10,000 bits aren't worth your life, Swiftwing. Quickly, I reach back with a hoof to pull open the door to the front of the restaurant. Our eyes are locked together, hers and mine. There's no talking her out of this now, not with all that anger and all those debts. The second I turn away, she'll attack, I'm sure of it. For now, though, she's still on the ground, and that throws away her biggest advantage. One step at a time, I back away, out of the kitchen and into the darkened front room. She follows me, step for step, her eyes on mine, until I feel my tail brushes something behind me. She's fixed on me, eyes zipping back and forth over my face. She doesn't move, though. Why not? Around us, Lieutenant Thunderlane is still talking, droning his way through my physical description. Is she listening to him talk? What is she waiting for? For me to realize I don't know how to lift the bars. "The bars!" I snap, waving the spear at her in what I hope is a threatening manner, putting as much anger as I can into my voice. I'm a dangerous fugitive, as far as she knows. She better do as I say, or else. "How do the bars go up?" "There's a box under the counter with 2 gems on it." She points to a space behind me, and even if her voice trembles, she doesn't stop staring me down. "Blue one lowers the bars. The red one raises them." Waiting for me to turn around to use them, are we, Swiftwing? I jab at her with the spear again, and she stumbles back into the kitchen in time for me to reach out with my magic and pull the door shut. Light floods into the room as my horn shines, and when I turn around, I see that the box right where Swiftwing pointed, a little metal thing attached to the counter's underside. 2 small square gems inside it. I haven't got long, so I jam the red one as hard as I can, turning to... Outside, the alarm klaxon sounds again, joined by a loud whine. The red gem pulses in time with the alarm, the light strips in the room flashing a bright crimson. I am the dumbest pony to ever live. The blue crystal. I jam it down with a hoof, hitting it again and again until the box shears off the underside of the counter. I don't hear the bars move, but when I look up, the door is open, and light is coming in the windows again. My first leap takes me up to the counter. My next takes me halfway across the room, and then I'm galloping out the open door, back into the market. Cold hits me like a brick wall, reminding me that I left my jacket inside with every freezing gust that washes over me. It finds its way inside the bandages, and by the time I'm halfway across the market, my cuts are the only part of my face that doesn't feel numb. There's no time for that, though. The alarm is still going off. I pick a hall at random, and I run as hard as I can. "There she is!" Swiftwing's voice calls after me, echoing off the high, vaulted ceiling. "That's her, right there! The wretched, pathetic, lying freak! She deserved everything I said. She..." My breath catches in my throat. Who is she shouting to? There are hoofbeats behind me. I put on a burst of speed, stretching my hooves forward so they catch the stone, and a sharp tug of my legs sends me hurtling down the hall. My muscles surge with pain, but I grit my teeth and bear it, leaping ahead as hard as I can with every step. I brace for the pain to get worse, but it fades instead, and everything else fades with it. There's no throbbing in my muscles, no burning in my lungs, no shock of acceleration. I'm not even galloping. I'm flying across the stone. I slip on the ice, but there's not even any fear, only motion, and then I land on my hooves and speed ahead like it was all on purpose. The hallway is twisting around me, bending and blurring as I keep it center. Watch where I'm running. Watch for guards or doors ahead of me. I need to keep going. Need to find a way to duck them and hide until... Dead end. It doesn't taper off. There's no warning. I turn a corner, and suddenly there's a wall where there should be hallway. I try to come to a stop, but I'm moving too fast, and my legs tangle under me. For one brief, peaceful second, I really am flying. I'm soaring through the air in a smooth arc, the wind rushing around my legs and finally relaxing as they no longer have to hold my weight. Then I hit the ground. It all comes to me then. The burning in my legs, the bite of the cold, the cuts that have been torn open, the bruises all up and down my torso, the froth that comes out when I desperately suck down air, and the sweat dripping off my body. I clench my teeth and try to force myself up, but my legs won't cooperate. I put weight on them, and before I can stop myself, I scream. Fire rips through my joints, and I crumple back to the ground. It's all I can do to sit up, try to see some way, any way out. There's only 2 of them, but it might as well be 1,000,000 for all it matters. Wire dolls. Sexless things with muscles that don't tire and skin made of steel, standing half a head above me. Buzzing, clicking, clattering like machines. But they aren't machines. Machines do not think. They do not see. They do not crouch and prowl like predators, seek me through those glass eyes. They aren't even moving at a gallop. At a trot, they're faster than me, all graceful and tireless motion, glittering every time the light pulses. They could have caught me any time. They just wanted to let me run myself to exhaustion. That's it. It's over. And they slow to a walk, moving up side by side, evenly spaced so that they have a whole corridor covered. I can see there's, on their forelegs, cables all bound up with weights and winch. From the station, the metal figures hanging the shoplifter. At least it looked quick. My chest is trembling and it seems stupid, but I stand up. I take it slow and grit my teeth through the pain, and then I stand up in front of them. I can't move right now. I can't get away, but it seems wrong to die curled up and whimpering on the floor. Okay, I'm up. That's good. They're moving towards me, on either side. I shut my eyes. I don't want to see it coming. I never really thought a lot about what happens to us when we die. Princess Celestia always told me to worry about living a good life first, and I guess I thought that meant, I don't know, meant something. My throat is getting tight, and my eyes are burning. I want it to mean something. They're closer now, ice crunching under metal. This is it. Last thoughts. Well, I mean, my last thoughts are probably going to be, oh, I'm falling, snap. But last thoughts that mean anything. Should I say I'm sorry? That I wish I'd done it all differently? I could have been a better pony. I know I could have. I could have been braver and stronger and kinder. And I wish I had been. I should end it with something noble like that. But all I can think is that I want to live. Please, Princess. Please.
Sir, I've lost sight of the target.
A stallion says, the wire doll distorting his voice. What? No. What? I open my eyes, but all I can see is a blur, and it takes me a second to blink the tears away. No, total dead end. No cover. A mare's voice this time, out of the second doll. We do know she's not a teleporter, right? I have to shake my head, the last of the tears running down my face. But I can see the wire dolls now. They're right in front of me, less than 4 paces away, but they've stopped. They're staring right at me. No, they're looking right past me, searching the room left and right, peering up at the ceiling like I was a Pegasus. But their heads don't even pause when their gaze moves over me. I reach out. I wave a hoof in front of the left doll, right in front of its eyes. Nothing. I don't know, the mare says, out of the left doll. Maybe she has a target dummy or something. I hear the new one can spoof the dolls. A pause. She's listening to some pony I can't hear. Right. Got it. Then they're turning around, walking away. What just happened? I guess I stand there for a while, trying to piece it all together. There's some part of my mind that insists that it's all a trick, that they're going to jump back around the corner and grab me. There's also a part of me that wants to think that cause follows effect, that Celestia can hear me somehow, and that she reached out across the world to save me. That thought keeps me busy for a while. They're foolish thoughts, though. One is pointlessly fearful, the other pointlessly hopeful, and they're both based in emotion rather than reason. It's not a trick. Their reactions were too genuine. I can tell that much even through the dolls. They couldn't see me, and they're still searching. Something saved me, but it wasn't Celestia. The princess told me she can't actually do that, and besides, if she knew about this place, she'd have come to save every pony long ago. Something here bailed me out, for whatever reason. Knowing this place, not a good reason, but I'm alive. Right. I draw a deep breath, and my chest trembles. But I'm collected, I think. Mostly, anyway. Enough to look around. The wire dolls couldn't see me, but that's no guarantee they won't be able to see me from now on, and there are regular guards and soldiers as well. I need to find a place to hide. It doesn't take long for me to realize I have no idea where I am. The corridors are wide, and there are apartment doors, so I'm still somewhere in the residential part of the tower, but I have no idea how to get back to the train station. Or anywhere. I'm way too recognizable, but the corridor seems empty, and there's only one way for me to go anywhere. I start walking. A bloody fool and a blind doll, I mutter. You've got a funny way of saving me, whoever you are. A few more seconds pass. Thanks, I guess. My legs are aching with every step. I'm barely moving at a slow walk, but I know there's no way I could pick up the pace. If they find me now, I can't run, much less fight my way through whatever security checkpoint is waiting for me. I need to hide somewhere in the tower, somewhere I can lay low for a few days while my body stitches itself back together. With that bounty on my head, I doubt anyone will shelter me, but maybe I can find an abandoned apartment or... Excuse me? A mare's voice calls from my left, friendly, but a bit strained. When I turn that way, I can see there's a shop that I didn't notice before. Not that it would be hard to miss. It's a little hole in the wall with a single window full of cages, and a sign above the door that reads, Fluttershy's Home for Wayward Animals. The mare is standing in the half-open door, a powder green unicorn in a dirty smock that completely covers her neck to flank. She waves to get my attention, and then points to my side. You're bleeding. I can guess what she means, but I look down anyway. Scarlet is running from the fresh cuts in my side. The bandages ripped away at some point during the chase. It's probably not a good thing to have wounds constantly reopened that way, and they're bleeding a little more than they did before. Most of it falls to the ground, but some of it is running in trails down my left foreleg, and I shake it off. Thanks, I call back to her. Not sure what else to say. She glances back into the shop, and then at me, her tail twitching to one side. Do you need, like, a bandage or something? I've got a first aid kit in the shop. It's obviously a trap. She's going to invite me in, shut the bars behind me, and then sound the alarm. I should start running now, but it's not like I can gallop or even trot in this condition. She could probably sound the alarm and not bother with the bars, and I'd still be dead. There's something about her, too. She's a very good actress. I'd almost think she's being honest, if it weren't for the minor detail of the huge, blaring description of me she's pretending not to have heard. A good poker face, but an obvious lie. That would be nice. Yeah, I say, as I start to move towards her. I reach for my spear, but I realize I don't have it. It was with me when I was fighting Swiftwing, but it's gone now. I must have dropped it at some point during the chase. There's time for a quick pat-down of my belt as I walk to the shop. I still have my money, my pet bars, the bottle of pepper sauce, and a few pieces of glass. It'll have to do. Come on in. My name's Whitewash. My host introduces herself, stepping out of the doorway so I can pass through. It's a strange little shop. A small triangular room containing a study table, a small desk, and dozens of cages filled with stuffed animals. They're adorable things, like children's toys, all posed like they were real. She's even given each one a little water bottle and bowl of food. I guess the name of the shop is meant to be ironic, or maybe they keep the real animals in the back or something. Go ahead and stretch out on that table. I've got the first aid kit behind the counter here. This is it. She's going for the alarm. I reach for the pepper bottle and the shard of glass, but they're not even out of the belt before she turns back around, a first aid kit levitating in front of her. Her magic barely has any color to it, almost a snow white. She stares at me, and I stare at her. Do you need help? She asks. She's examining me, worried about something. What is she hiding? Does she plan to sedate me when I'm on the table? Bind me up against the wood? Stab me with the razor from the kit? Slash my tendons so I can't get away? Light me on fire as soon as I'm distracted? I should be so lucky. No, 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 this is a trap. I'm not walking into an obvious trap. Not now. She mutters. I'm sorry to ask, but have you been crying? She lifts up a cloth from the counter, wiping at my face. You've just got a little stain there. I don't answer. Under your eyes, I mean. I don't understand. I'm so good at reading ponies. Why can't I see that what she's planning to do to me? I don't sense anything dishonest in those eyes, but I know it's there. Like any pony in the city would actually want to help me. Is something wrong? You didn't hit your head, did you? She asks, turning to examine the cut on my forehead. I'm probably dead if I accept her help. There's not much dried blood here. Have you already cleaned this up? But I'm probably dead if I run back into the halls. And at least this way, I might get some medical attention before she tries to betray me. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. No, sorry, I'm tired. I think I zoned out for a second there. I slide my belt down and away from the cuts without taking it off, and a moment later, hop up on the table and lie on my side. That way, if I have to go for the bottle or the glass, it'll be one smooth motion to smash either right against the side of her head. She obviously knows what she's doing, opening the first aid kit and neatly laying out all the supplies she'll need. Do you patch ponies together often? I ask. Shh. She gives me a conspiratorial little glance and a smile. It's fake, an attempt to make me feel better. She can act better than that, though. I'm sure of it. Did she want me to know it was fake? Is that it? Are you trying to get my legs broken? You know how the pavilion feels about vets moonlighting as doctors. Oh, you're a vet. Now I get it. She's a spy, exactly like the last vet. Probably adding cheating on the pavilion to my list of crimes right now. Everything about this place is a lie. Cages full of fuzzy stuffed animals. I guess that's a kind of advertisement, or maybe actual animals were too much work just for pretending. No, not for the last few years. Don't worry. She adds quickly. I'm still certified. That training didn't go anywhere. But my health isn't what it used to be. So I needed a job with lighter duties. They were happy to let me take over the animal shelter, so I've been here ever since. It's close to my apartment, which makes it easy. Semi-retirement? I ask as she peels away the last of my bandages, taking a closer look at the cuts. She appears to be about my age, but that's so commonplace it's hardly worth observing anymore. I'm getting used to every pony in a crowd being young. It's like being back in Celestia's school, where any pony over 20 sticks out like a cracked hoof. I'm not that old, you little punk. She shoots back, but then she smiles and laughs. I fake a laugh as well, playing along. A bit, I guess. And you need stitches. This is going to sting a little bit. There's no local anesthetic left, and I don't think you want morphine for this. Is that okay? After a moment, I nod. If knocking me out with drugs was her plan, she could have jabbed me with the needle. She nods back and gets to work, little pinpricks of pain working their way up my side. After everything I've been through, honestly, it doesn't even seem worth wincing over. I watch her while she sews up the first 2 cuts, waiting for whatever she's going to try. But then I realize she's almost done with the third one, and I didn't even notice she'd started. I'm drifting off. Taking a risk for some medical care is one thing, but falling asleep now would be terminally stupid. So I force my eyes open and lift my head. Conversation that'll keep me alert. So, what's with the stuffed animals? Well, there's not actually that many stray animals in Vision, she explains, her tone light and friendly. A classical good bedside manner. It's important we care for them and find them good homes, of course, but we're rarely at capacity. I put stuffed animals in the cages when they aren't in use, so the building won't feel empty. Oh, that's friendly, I say, and she smiles like I'm so stupid I would believe we were just chatting. I like to think so. Not a lot in the city, that is. I feel a sharp little tug as she yanks on the thread, but then she's finished, and she gestures for me to sit up. Now, let's see about that head of yours. You're going to need to take some antibiotics. Something topical, at least. I don't have any here, but those cuts are in real danger of getting infected otherwise. Thanks, Whitewash, I mutter, and she leans over to examine my forehead, needle and thread floating beside her. Is the needle for my eye? No, the angle is wrong. This one, actually, not as bad as it seemed. She seems to be mulling over if I need stitches or not, and I let my eyes wander. She must be cleaning today, because that smock she's wearing is filthy, and it kind of smells like sweat and animal waste. I mean, she's using magic, so I guess it's sanitary enough. She seems to be unarmed. Beyond that, she's not so bad. Youthful, good color, kind of a stringy mane. The smock is pretty loose, and I glance down the front when she leans in to rub the cut with an alcohol swab. There's a cutie mark on her shoulder. I only see it for a second, but I'm sure it's there. One, maybe even two. I knew it. My chest locks up, and I have to force myself to breathe. Old dirty clothes, there to hide extra cutie marks. A little out of it, a little strange. My eyes dart around to every cage here. Stuffed animals, clean paper, full water bottles, full food bottles. I sniff the air. Clear. No smell of musk or animal waste, except what's coming off her smock. She's tending an animal shelter full of stuffed toys, refilling their food bowls and giving them water. Yeah, it's not as bad as I thought. She observes, leaning away from me. This will heal itself fine. Let me clean it up a bit and give you a new bandage. She levitates the razor out of the kit. A sharp shove of my hooves sends me scooting backwards across the table, away from her and away from that razor. I drop off the far end and hit the floor, yanking my belt back up so it clinches tight around me. It's been great, Whitewash. Really. You've been very generous with me, but I need to get going. I turn to go, but when I push the door open, it doesn't open. I try the handle, but it turns without resistance, and the latch doesn't click in the lock. That was a little rude, Whitewash murmurs, fixing me with a stare as I whirl back to face her. I wasn't trying to be impolite. Open the door, I order, sliding the bottle and the piece of glass out of my belt. I'm not going to be caught off guard. I patched you up. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a little courtesy in turn. Maybe a thank you. If you really wanted to be nice, you could stay and think about adopting a pet. The razor is still floating beside her, drifting this way and that through the air. Her cheerful expression is gone now, replaced with a cold frown. I'd love to, really. I smile, and she doesn't smile back. Except I'm in such a hurry. Every pony says they're in a hurry. They never visit the shelter anymore. She takes a step towards me, her stare hardening into a glare. Maybe if more ponies in the city had pets to care for, they wouldn't be so angry and selfish all the time. You know what? You're right. I had a kitten named Mr. Scuffles when I was a foal, and I loved him to death. I reassure her. Technically, Mr. Scuffles was a dragon, and imaginary, but close enough. I'd love to come back and get a pet once I've settled down, but I really need to. Don't you patronize me, you little bottom feeder! She bellows. She's actually trembling as she steps towards me, as though she were literally shaking with rage. But that's not quite right. The razor is waving too. I'm not senile. That's it. Open the door now or shut up! Her bellow raises to a hysterical scream so loud that it reduces her to wheezing and coughing. I think she's torn something in her throat. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Say one more word and I swear I'll kill you! She holds up the razor in front of her, the clean silver blade glinting every time the light beats. The edge is red, blood from cleaning the cuts. You're just like those foals who come in and egg the building every night! Useless, spoiled little punks! You're the reason this city is falling apart! All of you! My chest goes tight when the blade shines, and suddenly I can't get enough air. I swallow. My heart beats faster. Gotta keep it together. I have to keep it together. Can't panic now. I have the bottle and the glass. That's sharp as a razor, right? 2 weapons to her 1. I have the advantage here. You think I don't hear you laughing at me, but I do. She insists, her breath coming in shaking gasps. You're always giggling and whispering when you think I can't hear. Poor old Whitewash, real shame that they let her stay. She'll be a Section 8 soon. I know I get confused, but I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, and I don't like it when you say that I am. She's going to come for me now, leap forward and attack. She doesn't even seem to have noticed the bottle, so I tense it for a good swing. Across the eyes, blind her, then run and take cover. One good swing. I could see it in her face, the tension building behind her eyes, that razor shaking with the need to use it. Don't you look at me that way! She steps forward, brandishing the razor. Don't you look at me that way! Here it comes! I raise the bottle in turn, aiming for her face. The razor is shaking a lot now, the glow around it flickering and intermittent. Don't you? Her breath comes in quick gasps. Too quick. She's hyperventilating, wheezing. Her knees are quaking as much as the razor is, and while she's struggling to keep her glare on me, she can't do it, her head bobbing up and down. Don't you? She wheezes the words out before the razor drops to the ground, and a moment later, she tumbles down as well. The trembling has turned into spasms, her eyes rolling back into her head as her limbs flail under her. She's having a seizure. I don't see the razor. She must have fallen on it. No way for her to get it now. Perfect. I leap around the table, hurrying to behind the desk. Like I thought, there's another one of those boxes with the 2 crystals in it, and I tap the blue one. The distinctive thump of a turning deadbolt echoes from the front door. Time to get out of here. I sweep up the last of the medical supplies from the table and stuff them down into my belt, trotting around the table to avoid the crazed mutant. At that moment, the sound of the door handle turning is the sweetest music I've ever heard, and I pull it clear open, checking back to make sure Whitewash isn't about to follow me. Her seizure seems to be winding down, but she still can't get enough air. Wheezing and panting on the floor, her legs faintly twitching beside her. A puddle of foamy drool has formed under her head, her eyes darting left and right wildly. My nose tickles, and I sniff the air. There's something there, cloying and sweet and rotten. Marker blood. I didn't notice that before, but it's strong now. She fell on the razor. But she was ready to kill me. I was about to do that in self-defense. Just because she happened to have a nervous attack before I could does not make this any less her fault. If anything, it makes it more her fault. This is poetic justice for one of the monsters in this city. Besides, she's clearly unhinged. If I saved her, she'd be as likely to stab me as thank me. And even if she doesn't, she'll only go on to hurt some pony else. Right now, I need to focus on saving my own life. That's what Celestia would want me to do. Get back to Equestria in one piece. She whimpers, squeezing her eyes shut. I am so full of it. It's okay. Don't move, I say, kneeling down by her side. Her eyes do tilt towards my face, and I think they're focused. But when her mouth opens, only a faint gurgling emerges. The smell is really strong, but I don't see any blood pooling under her. That's a good sign. Come on, let's get you up off that blade and lying on your belly. Tuck your legs up and I'll roll you over. On 3. 1, 2. My horn shines as I grab her and twist, the magenta glow enveloping her entire body. Oh, how I wish I was as strong as Green, able to lift an entire pony. But it's a struggle to get a grip on something that large, much less move it. She tries to twist herself over, but my magic falters, and she cries out in pain when she falls back onto the floor. Stupid, stupid. Sorry. Okay, don't move, I say, planting my butt on the ground and reaching over to get my forehooves around her neck. Push and pull at the same time. On 3 again. 1, 2. My horn shines as I grunt. Pulled muscle. This was a bad plan. My ears fold back, and I know my face is contorting into the most absurd expressions, but if I let go, she'll fall onto the razor again. Her side twists up off the floor, and I hear the clatter of something metal hitting the stone. My rear hooves are slipping, but I dig them in as best as I can and give one last heave. She straightens up as I tumble over, rolling to my side as she rolls onto her belly. With me on my side, belly towards her, our legs tangle pretty much immediately, but she doesn't move to extricate herself. She's still trembling a little, and her breath seems ragged. Now that I touch it, the smock is disgusting. I don't have a lot of feeling in my ankles, but I swear I can hear it squish, and I think her coat is equally greasy. I try to pull away, but she grabs me, tightening her leg around my ankle. First, she says, and if she's garbling any words, they're beyond my comprehension. I twist my head to look down at her, and her mouth seems to be working, but all that comes out is nonsense. Reeb and heave neep. Let go of me, I snap, and give my leg a good yank. My leg flashes with pain, but her grip is weak, and my ankle pops out. Soon enough, I'm scrambling to my hooves and away from her. And even if I'm limping more than a bit, no way she can catch me. Reeb and have neep, she repeats, following me with her eyes. It's about all she can do, still struggling for a good breath. Her face is slack, eyes wide, and... Oh, sun and stars, I wish I wasn't so good at reading ponies. Please don't leave me. I say to her slowly, staring into those frightened eyes, her ears folded back and her jaw loose. Is that what you're trying to say? You don't want me to leave you here? She nods, her mouth lolling open under her, making her teeth knock together when she nods too hard. It's okay, Whitewash. I'm not going to leave you here. You after keep wid. She slurs, head tilted towards the floor. I don't quite follow that one as clearly. I think something is wrong with the lower half of her face, and it's a little hard to read some pony from eyes and ears alone. Her tail still seems to be working, though, and seeing it droop helps, along with a little flutter of her ears and her downcast eyes. She's sorry. She's ashamed. She's saying something that may or may not be related to that. I don't know. It's okay, Whitewash. I understand, I say, keeping my tone slow, the words even and soft. And when she looks up, my expression is steady and attentive. A little earnestness goes a long way, even if it is fake. Let me get that cut. Moving her doesn't seem like a good idea right now, so I push the table away instead, moving her around to her injured side. Like I thought, the razor is lying on the floor, fresh blood splattered around it. I do heave a little sigh of relief, though. There's a cut in her smock, but it's as long as a straight razor, not as wide, and the blade only has blood on its edges. I don't see any blood in the fabric, but I guess the smock isn't very absorbent. Okay, Whitewash, I can't see your cut. I need to take the smock off now. I reach for the opening of the fabric. What, Jace? She forces the words out with some urgency, trying to lift a hoof to stop me. She doesn't have the strength, and all she manages to do is nearly knock herself over, but I catch her at the last second. That doesn't make her give up, though, and she doesn't stop struggling until I move my hoof away from the flap, putting it over her trembling leg. Shh, Whitewash, it's okay. I insist, but she shakes her head. Her ears are flat, tail almost scrunched up under her legs. It's such textbook shame that if I ever did that, I would have been accused of overplaying the part. Whitewash, I repeat, quieter this time. I know you're embarrassed, but I need to see how bad the injury is. You might have a scratch, or you might need to go to the hospital right now. I reach down to her leg with my other forehoof, holding her until the trembling stops. Steady as a rock. That's my cue here. Not a hint of judgment. It's okay, I say, but she doesn't respond, staring down at the floor. Come on now. You've seen me naked. That gets her to tilt her head up, and right on command, I smile and laugh in the face of her confusion. Something my old acting coach said. It takes a little while for that to wheedle its way in, but eventually, she nods. Now look over there. I point across the room, and she turns, not because I particularly need her to turn away, but because I don't want my expression giving away anything. Normally, that wouldn't be a problem, but, well, we'll see. I start to strip the smock away, and a rank smell assaults my nose at once. It's like it wafts up out of the fabric, in clouds, turning my stomach and making my eyes water. Marker blood, yes, but also sweat, and waste, and grime, and other things I don't want to think about. I've never been so glad to be a unicorn in my entire life. I can't imagine having to do this with my teeth. I give it a second to air out, and then I brace myself and pull. Pony feathers. Her flesh is boiling. Her torso is covered in those lumpy growths, nodules of bone and muscle that have swollen until they threaten to burst out of her skin, and each one is surrounded by blisters full of blood or yellow fluid. It's like nothing so much as bubbles of steam rising out of a pot, floating on the surface before they finally pop. The whole thing glistens, and I have no idea if that's some other fluid she's leaking, or if she's just covered in sweat and never bathes. How is she still alive? She shouldn't be. She should be dead. I don't think I understood the word unnatural until this very moment. It was just a thing ponies say to mark something as weird. Not like this. I've gone past disgusted and revolted, and every part of my mind is sickened. Not fright that I have to be near this thing, or worry that I have to touch it. Offended that it even exists. That this place is... No creature should live like this. I need to look for that cut. It's only when I stop and get a hold of myself that I even notice all her cutie marks. A dozen, at least. They've been warped by the damage to her body, some to the point of being almost totally obscured. A few stand out. A candle on her back, a comet on her front leg, and her original cutie mark, a brush, and a bucket of paint. The cut is along her ribs, almost perfectly in the middle of her barrel. It's not bad. The words come harder than I thought they would, and I realize how tight my chest and throat are. It's actually really shallow. I think the smog protected you. You burst a few of these blisters here. My stomach twists. Not now, Siren. Released a bit of blood, but I don't see any more flowing. You'll be fine. Tonk. She slurs the word, drawing a deep breath. Her jaw trembles, but no sound emerges. The struggle on her face is obvious, her muscles scrunched up, her body tense, her eyes squeezed shut as she tries to force herself to make a sound. Tonk. Thank you. Thank you. She opens her eyes, and though the breaths are coming deep and eager, they do come, and she seems to be getting enough air. Thank you. I'm sorry. Saying it seems to take a lot of effort, and she doesn't match my gaze, letting a long silence hang before she continues. This happens sometimes. I understand, I say, and I flinch at what I need to do next. Remember, Siren, you can't catch poison joke. It's not a disease. You can't catch it. There's no harm in this. I reach out to hold her shoulder, giving her a reassuring little pat. You know what's great? Hooves are great. Wonderful, numb, I don't have to feel when I'm touching hooves. That much I keep out of my expression, and when she peers up at me, I smile. Is there any pony taking care of you, Whitewash? I ask. Her eyes tilt away, down and back to her left. I move my hoof off her shoulder, taking the moment when she's not looking to discreetly wipe it off against the table leg. There's nothing. She starts, having to pause for breath halfway through the sentence. Nothing the doctors can do. I'm hopelessly addicted. I buy as much as I can on a vet's salary, but... No, Whitewash, I say, reaching out with my magic to gently turn her head back to me. Is there any pony taking care of you? A daughter or a son or a friend? Some pony to make sure you're all right and visit you. Oh, no. No family. She shakes her head. Just a son who hates me and never visits. It's okay, though. I have the animals. She gives a weak little smile and nods at the cages. They're so nice, and they need me to get by. They keep me company. I get one of the bandages from my belt and put it across her cut as best I can. Then I reach down and I do up the smock, nice and tight so it won't fall off, high on her neck and low on her body. Lastly, I straighten her mane and brush it as best as I can with magic alone until it's bright and neat. There you go, Whitewash. I smile. All better. All better. She echoes, rising to her hooves. Her legs are a bit shaky, but the fit seems to have passed, and there's strength in her muscles again. She can't seem to meet my gaze, though, pretending that her head is still heavy so she can stare at the floor. I'm sorry. She swallows, her tone quick and rigid. I should fix up that cut on your head, shouldn't I? Wouldn't, want to leave you in a bad shape or anything. It's okay, really, I say, nice and gentle, giving her my best reassuring smile. She sees it, even if she can only glance at me. It's really no trouble. It's fine, Whitewash, I say as gently as I can, but her gaze slumps all the same, her ears folding tighter against her head. For a long time, neither of us says anything. The words aren't coming to me, for some reason. I need a way out of the tower that security doesn't watch. No guards, no checkpoints. Can you think of anything? Well, smugglers sometimes use diving suits to get around, she says, uncertain, but it's the best lead I've got. Thank you. Where would I find a diving suit? I ask. Airlock. Ground floor of the tower. She tilts her head up, pointing to the exit. Go out, take a left, third passage on your right. Follow it all the way to the bottom. She turns to glance up at me, pleading in her eyes. Do you have to go so soon? You could stay for a bit, even if you don't want to adopt a pet. I'm sure they'd love it if some pony would play with them. She laughs, nervously. We really don't get a lot of visitors these days. Goodbye, Whitewash, I say. Or whisper, really. Thank you. I turn and I trot out the door without waiting for her to answer. I manage to get to the first intersection before the tears come. My throat tightens, my eyes burn, and suddenly I'm sobbing like a stupid foal in the middle of the corridor. Forget that I'm a wanted fugitive and this is going to draw attention. Never mind that stopping in an open space right now is colossally stupid, even if I don't make any noise. No, I'm going to stop and have a good cry right here for no stupid reason. No stupid reason. It's freezing out here. Every part of my face is stiff with cold, until the tears feel like hot water running down my cheeks. I'm going to die of hypothermia, of all things. That's it, isn't it? I don't know why I'm crying. I don't know why the guards and soldiers haven't heard me yet. I don't know why these hallways are so empty. Why isn't any pony here? Because they're all still cowering away behind those locked doors, brewing up more mantles and tonics? Why hasn't any pony heard me yet? I draw a shaky breath, and I let it out. Cry later, Siren. You need to move now. I mutter, but my voice cracks, and it only makes me sound even more afraid. I said move, you stupid useless coward! That gets my head up at least, my ears unfolding, even if my chest is still shaking. Two intersections to go. Now, you're going to draw a deep breath, and then you're going to be brave. I draw another deep breath, and I let it out slowly. Right. Okay. My hooves start moving again. This tower really is empty, but it's not abandoned. I can hear ponies behind closed doors, and more importantly, I can hear footfalls echoing around the corridors. The high ceilings and sloping turns carry sound well, and make it hard to tell where anything is coming from, but there are definitely guards out searching for me. I hear muttering, cursing, and the buzz of wire dolls, all of the sounds running together until they form a dull murmur, barely audible over the beat of the lights. I pass another intersection, a four-way split this time. One more intersection to go, next turn to my right. The sounds around me don't seem to be getting any closer. Maybe they're guarding the tram station and the exits to the tower, and waiting for me to— Hey, there she is! A stallion's voice, from my left. I catch a glimpse of them, as I start off. 3 of the tower guards in their puffy blue uniforms. They're a ways down the passages to my left, so I have a bit of a head start, but something's wrong. I feel it as soon as I stretch out my legs to gallop, a shooting pain up through my ankles and shoulder. For a moment, I think it's just my muscles burning, and all I need to do is stretch and get into the pace of things, but the pain is getting worse with every step. I've barely gone half a dozen strides before it hurts so much my eyes are watering, and I need to slow down, first to canter, then to a brisk trot, and even that causes little flashes of lightning to shoot up my legs. The corridor in front of me slopes down the way Whitewash said, but it's long. I don't see any breaks or interruptions. One open, straight passage for them to run me down in. No good at a trot. No good at all. I stop and turn, and spread my hooves out, pulling the bottle and my little pieces of glass from my belt. My chest is tight, my heart is racing, but I can do this. I take a breath, and it's time to be brave. They're getting closer now. 3 stallions, 2 earth ponies, and a Pegasus. I draw a breath and let it out. Time to be brave. I've got to reach on the earth ponies. I'll blind one with the bottle, tackle the other so the Pegasus can't get to us, and then get him with the glass. That's it. They're almost on me. I heft the bottle up and get ready to throw. Just need to let them get close enough. I can do this. Hey, straw for brains! A mare shouts. Something flashes through the air, bright and glittering, flying over my shoulder. The guards scatter in all directions, but the Pegasus isn't quite fast enough, and the projectile bounces off his forehead. It clatters to the floor as blood runs from the gash down his forehead. It's a long knife. Belatedly, I recognize Green's voice and hear her shouting behind me. Would you kinda sit down and hold still? I take a step away, whipping my head back over my shoulder. She's down the passage behind me, racing towards me at a gallop. I twist back around, and the guards are still there. Maybe it's because Green is so far away, or because there are 3 of them at once, but it doesn't seem to be working. The Pegasus is already flexing his wings up, a quick beat taking him into the air. He's like a hummingbird, his wings beating hard and letting him turn on a dime as his body twists into the curve. Then the knives on his hooves snap out, and he's off, over my shoulder towards Green. The earth ponies seem more sluggish. One is twisting on the ground, but the other lurches to his hooves, stumbling towards me. He's coming for me. Stay down! I hear the words before I realize it's me who said them, and then the bottle of pepper sauce hits his face. It doesn't break like I thought it would. It bounces off when it connects, jerking his head to one side with the force of the impact. Stay down! I swing again, smashing the bottle down against his eye and sending him stumbling back. He seems to be snapping out of it, his sluggish movements speeding up.